As a rule, when I was a city councilman, I hated talking about bad news because in some way I felt that I was to blame for the bad news because I was the councilman and I promised I could fix everything, and it wasn't working. So I tried to kind of, sometimes gloss over it at meetings or maybe hope somebody wouldn't ask about it. And I know that in this town there is a lot of angst over the bad news that is focused so much on Cleveland because of the foreclosure crisis. As I've said, it's no longer our problem, it's everybody's problem. So there's a well-known, really a famous writer named Alex Kotlowitz who came to town back in November, New York Times reporter, at least writes for the New York Times, usually the Sunday Times magazines, and he began to interview a lot of people about the crisis. Many of us spent a lot of time with him. He wrote, I think, just a powerful, powerful piece. You're going to see it on Sunday. And he's talking about the foreclosure problem in Cleveland and what we're up against. And, in a time and a day and an era we hear so much about what our public officials don't do, I have to tell you, I'm incredibly proud of two people that the article really features. And one of them is here. It's Councilman Tony Brancatelli, who is, I think, as I've said, Tony, I don't want to embarrass you, you're one of my heroes. Tony has been, so are you, Jay, but... And if you read, and the other is Judge Ray Pianka, and when is the judge here? There he is. Yeah, and I think the point of the story is it is bad, it's horrible, but this was not a hand we asked for. Cleveland didn't deserve this. We didn't ask for it. There's nothing that we did that in any way warranted what this crisis delivered to this city. We didn't ask for it. So these are forces that go well beyond us. Back to Rick Taft's point, I mean, this is Wall Street, this is international folks. I mean, we didn't ask for this, but we had to deal with it. And these folks have been creative, and they've responded. And again, read the article. Again, I left actually sad, but I've been sad a lot lately. But I felt really empowered by the two people who were featured in the article. Tony's about to be, I told him, very, very famous, so I told him to get into a witness protection plan Monday and hide.
Well, speaking of not deserving and things you didn't ask for, I guess, it's always been said that when you earn a little money and you have some savings, the thing to do is to buy property, buy a house, buy a condo, whatever. And then that's your starter house, and then you move on and so forth. Since you've proven to be so prescient in the last couple of years, what advice do you have for people who've bought property that still has value, obviously, but now are feeling trapped or feeling like what's to become of this?
Well, my Greek relatives would say, buy a double house. live down, rent up. I had a woman call me from Lyndhurst 3 days ago. I knew her husband. He used to give me a ride home. I was on a tree cutting crew for the county back in 1974. See, so I've been a political hack going way back. And he used to give me a ride home. And she called me. She was in her 70s. And she asked, should she appeal her property taxes? And we talked about maybe why she should or shouldn't. And then she asked me a question. And she said, do you think this is going to be better by next year? And I had to tell her, no. I don't think it's going to be better by next year. And I had to tell her it's not going to be better for a long time. And there are some parts of this town where the real estate market is not going to recover, which is why I think the land bank is so important. I didn't get into the redefining space stuff. There had a lot more. One of these days, Jim Foster, I'm going to time this better. I don't know when, but I always want to get it all. But so look, there are going to be incredible deals out there. I mean, one of the things that we think will happen through the land bank is we're going to bring in substantial holdings through the REO portfolios. Some of them will end up being demolished. I tell you probably the majority, but there'll be a lot of properties coming out that we think provide opportunities for people who want to get in at a much lower price and want to rehab. One of the things we've talked about with the land bank is to attempt soon, and we're working through a number of folks locally, it's also part of a national effort, to approach banks holding mortgages in foreclosure and buying them out of foreclosure. There was a study done, a number of studies, Credit Suisse First Boston just did one that said that the average foreclosed property at the conclusion of the foreclosure only brings back 20 cents on the dollar. So our hope is to get to these folks holding these foreclosed properties or the mortgages and saying, let us buy them from you. It's one of the things that we think the land bank could do. It cannot get away from the fact that we have to we cannot lose sight of the fact that we have to remain committed to foreclosure prevention, because in a lot of communities in this town, a foreclosed property that goes vacant, is never going to be re-inhabited. It's going to be stripped, and it's going to go to the demo roll. So we have to do everything we can to preserve that. So the answer, I'd like to give you a better one. Hold for the long term. That's
Thank you. Jim, so I have a question. Many of us in Northeast Ohio are concerned about brain drain. Our youngest members of the community going to college, coming here for graduate school, but then leaving the area. Do you see any role from the community college age on upwards to students who are here for undergraduate and or graduate school? Do you see any role for them in this land bank?
Well, sure, and a lot of people, we're thrilled with the number of young people who are already volunteering and have offered to work for this land bank. We talked about urban farming. Well, we haven't talked about it. I forgot. I didn't get to that part. There are a number of people who have expressed an interest in being involved in an urban farming movement. We're working with people at my alma mater at Oberlin College, at Johnson Farm. We're working on these experimental greenhouses that can be built for relatively low cost, that because they're no longer the old greenhouse, the kind I used to represent the neighborhood and city council off of Tuxedo, where it was all glass. These are double straw baled walls with a polycarbonate material. They call them hoop greenhouses, that they think they can help grow product 9 months of the year without heating elements. So, so there's some really smart people who are thinking about sustainability, and I think we can be a laboratory for that, because we're going to have a lot of vacant property that can be utilized for programs like that. But, you know, there was a guy that came out of my alma mater a few years ago, Sadhu, I don't know if you remember Sadhu Johnson, who Mayor Daley stole from us, but there is a great group of people coming out of Oberlin College who I think are interested in a lot of these issues and want to keep them active and involved.
Thank you, Jim. Today at the City Club of Cleveland Forum, we've been listening to Cuyahoga County Treasurer Jim Rokakis. Jim, thanks so much for being with us again today. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. This forum is now adjourned.
For information on upcoming speakers or for podcasts of the City Club, go to cityclub.org.